Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is June 9th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1924, world-famous promoter Jim Barnett. 1926, the original Sheik, Ed Farhat. Of course, on the flip side of that coin, your pro wrestling deaths for June 9th. 1990, former NWA Mid-American Tag Team Champion, Chief Little Eagle. Alright, enough of the sad stuff. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for June 9th. Jumping in the Wayback Machine and going all the way to 1932. Ed Strangler Lewis defeats Dick Shicott for the New York State Athletic Commission version of the World Heavyweight title. The National Wrestling Association World Champion, Jim Londos, was supposed to face the winner of this match, but refused. So New York recognized Lewis as the new world champion, while the NWA continued to recognize Londos. Skipping ahead 6 years to 1938, the Masked Marvel Ted Cox defeats Vic Christie in Toronto, Ontario, to win the Montreal World Heavyweight title, ending Christie's second reign. Hitting fast forward and moving 21 years to 1959, the Zebra Kid defeats the Golden Giant in Dallas, Texas, for the NWA Texas Brass Knuckles title. Grooving into 1960, we see Nick Roberts and Art Nielsen defeat Dory Funk Sr. and Bob Geigel to win the Amarillo version of the NWA North American Heavyweight Tag Team titles. 4 years later, in 1964, Tojo Yamamoto and Alex Perez defeat Jackie and Don Fargo for the Mid-American version of the NWA Southern Tag Team titles in Nashville, Tennessee. 1967, Sonny Myers wins his 13th NWA Central States Heavyweight title, defeating the Viking in St. Joseph, Missouri, ending his second reign. Our final stop in the 60s, 1969, Johnny Walker and the Sundown Kid defeat Tojo Yamamoto and Johnny Long to win the Mid-American version of the NWA Southern Tag Team titles in Nashville, Tennessee. Grabbing my bell bottoms and going to the 70s, 1973, Mr. Wrestling 2 and Bob Orton Jr. defeat the Super Infernos, Doug Gilbert and Don Smith, to win the NWA Georgia Tag Team titles in Atlanta, Georgia. Jumping into the 80s, 1986, Kendall Windham is given back the Florida State Heavyweight title he had lost to the White Ninja, aka Great Muta, on May 21st, when video replays show that the Ninja used an illegal karate move to win the match. Making 2 stops in 1989, first in Dallas, Texas, Jeff Jarrett and Mil Mascaras defeat the Super Zodiac 2 and Cactus Jack to win the world-class tag team titles. Our second stop in 89, Bob and Kerry Brown defeat Chris Benoit and Beef Wellington for the Stampede International Tag Team titles in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Grabbing my flannel and going to the decade of grunge, 1991, the Herb Abrams version of the Universal Wrestling Federation held their first and only pay-per-view, UWF Beach Brawl. In the main event, Steve Williams beat Bam Bam Bigelow to become the first UWF television champion. 1994, the WWF holds its first ever Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Baltimore, Maryland's Omni Inner Harbor International Hotel. The Hall of Fame had been created the previous year, with Andre the Giant being the inaugural inductee. The event was not initially released, although highlights and clips have been shown on WWE and the WWE Network. The inductees for this class were Freddie Blassie, Bobo Brazil, James Dudley, Gorilla Monsoon, Arnold Skaaland, Buddy Rogers, and Chief Jay Strongbow. And last but not least, 1997, Jeff Jarrett defeats Dean Malenko for the WCW US Heavyweight title in Boston, Massachusetts. Those were your short but sweet pro wrestling history highlights for June 9th. I'm the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.